Royals, what's going on? It's your girl Q the Queen. And the time has come. The time has come for us to go ahead and talk about Space Jam 2, A New Legacy. Um, I figure, since the movie came out Friday, give everybody a few days. Give you Friday, give you Saturday, give you Sunday. If you ain't watched it by now, because I'm gonna go ahead and post this after the weekend. So if you haven't seen it by now, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. um, I wouldn't consider what I have to say is necessarily spoilers because this is a movie to me that you should watch more than once anyway. I definitely intend to watch multiple times, just because it was a lot. But anyway, so Space Jam 2 finally dropped. Finally dropped. You all know if you've been following me, that I've been talking about it pretty much since last year. So of course I was excited. Of course I was gonna watch it. I did mention in previous videos that I wasn't sure whether or not I was gonna watch it in the theaters or at home, just because I wasn't sure, how I felt about going back to the theater. And I did make a decision. I wasn't quite ready to get back into that theater. So I went ahead and I watched it over the weekend at home on HBO Max, and in the confines of my little four corners, safe and sound. Okay. I made sure to make a nice little event out of it, have something to eat that I enjoy, kick back, watch the movie and just really take it in and not really. And another good thing about that is I don't really have to take in the energy of other folks around me, whether they like it or not. I want to be able to enjoy it for myself or not enjoy it for myself, right? So, but anywho, so I just want to get into it because I don't want this to be too long. And here's the thing, I am not a movie critic. This is not something that I specialize in. It just makes sense for me to do a review on this just because, again, I'm somebody who, um, one of the few people that was that was really excited about it, and I wanted to follow through on it and let you guys know my thoughts on it. So first, let's kind of talk about the cast. So the cast was pretty dope. Like, obviously, you had LeBron James. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Also, the perfect character to go ahead and do a part two of this movie. Um, and then you had Don Cheadle, who played the villain. I think he called himself AG Rhythm. AG Rhythm is, I guess, it's kind of like a spin-off of Algorithm or whatever. So you had Don Cheadle, you had Damian Lillard, which his role, I think they gave Damian Lillard out of all the basketball players that made cameos in the movie. I think they gave him his own little special time, and I thought that was dope. Clay Thompson was in there, AD was in there. I thought it was dope that they had in this one the WNBA players in there, Diana Taurasi, um, damn, dang, I forgot how to pronounce the girl's name. Nneka Agwumike, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Her and her sister were part of the same. Were both drafted together. Her and Shanae. But yeah, so I thought that was pretty dope. That's something that in '96 you never would have thought of. So that alone was something that was definitely progressive in this particular film. That if you're a woman, you feel more involved um, in how the game of basketball has evolved as well. So that was definitely an emotional moment for any females that have ever been an athlete or just love sports, and to see um, that type of love being given to players, women who actually have earned that spotlight. You had Ernie Johnson in there. He was up there with Lil Rel. They had their little comic relief points when they were commentating on the game, and Wood Harris, who is an OG in the game. Sarah Silverman, who I'm a fan of. Some of y'all might not know. There's a certain type of comedy I like, and she falls within that category. Even though she was in the movie for like 2 seconds, but I did notice, and I appreciated that. So you had the cast. Definitely had three, black women worth shouting out that were also involved in the cast. I would say Zendaya first. She was the voice of Lola Bunny. So Zendaya, shout out to Zendaya. The beautiful lady that played LeBron's wife. I think it's Shaniqua. What is it? Shaniqua Martin Green. The lady that played his mother, which was, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's like Osha Rockamore. So, but yeah, I saw her in something else before, but I couldn't think of it. But she's definitely she's in there as his mother. And and with that, I think it's best for me to go ahead and go into how I felt about the story. I think it kind of aligns with how they did the story with the first Space Jam, where, Michael kind of had a close relationship with his dad. And so obviously it opened up with kind of that scene where he had the moment with his dad and then retired to kind of fulfill something he felt would have made his dad proud. So with LeBron, obviously, um, being a kid from what some might call, I guess, an urban area, hood area, whatever the case, raised by a single mother. They brought that out, right? And so he was sort of in terms of his father figures, it was his coaches, right? So they kind of brought that to the forefront. So it was very aligned with kind of LeBron's story, right? Which was not your, married household. Oh, dad's coming out to tell you to stop playing basketball. This is one where, this kid, he's his mom wants the best for him. She's putting him in every situation that she can to make sure that, his path is secure. It's obviously not easy. They kind of threw in like him being distracted in there, which can kind of be some of the norms that come from that sort of upbringing for boys, especially for boys, but just for any kid that has to deal with a single parent household and not necessarily having both parents around and that whole thing. So I liked that. I do also like how you can tell the different era differences. So, with LeBron, they opened it up with like him playing the Nintendo Game Boy, right? So by that time, LeBron is a 90s kid, right? So 90s kids evolved with video games. So that's something that we grew up with. That's like a norm for us, right? So video games, technology, we're the generation where technology was starting to really, I guess, grow. But we remember we were a part of a time when technology wasn't so advanced, but we also were growing up when it was starting to advance. So we're that generation that's right in the middle of both. We know what it's like not to have it, but then we also know what it is to have it. So we're that balanced group, right? So I thought that was dope that they made light of that. And so basically, you know, um, there's a villain involved, of course, right? And based off of that villain's goal is basically what the player has to combat. So in this particular instance, Algae Rhythm, he's basically like a unsung tech genius. So basically creating technological advances that don't get any shine, right? And he finds that problematic, because he felt like, if he gets present to LeBron, who's the biggest star on the planet, then he'll finally get his shine. So Warner Brothers, I think it was Warner Brothers, whatever company was showing LeBron whatever the presentation was. LeBron wasn't feeling it. He like, nah, I ain't into it. And Algae Rhythm, he was able to watch that meeting. He wasn't directly in there, but he was able to watch the meeting. He saw LeBron kind of playing him to the left. He took offense to that. So naturally he found a way to go ahead and get direct access to LeBron, and tell him what time it was, right? And another part of it where I thought was pretty cool is obviously LeBron has two boys and a little girl, right? So those are characters that were in the movie. But one of his sons in particularly was one that he really wanted to play basketball and he wanted to show him the way and being good at basketball. but the kid was more into technology and design and games and things of that nature. So they gave that particular kid a lot of shine in the movie. I thought that was pretty cool. That was another addition to the movie, I think, that made it its own, right? But anyway, so the villain finds a way to, I guess, sort of take the son, right? By manipulating him, obviously, with technology. And basically, LeBron had to play Algae Rhythms put together team in a basketball game against whatever team LeBron puts together. And whoever wins, obviously, if LeBron wins, he gets to um, he gets to have his son back and they go back to normal life. If he loses, he has to stay in the serververse, him, his son, and whoever else is there. And a whole lot of people got sucked into the serververse. So if you watched it, you know what I'm saying. So that's the story, right? And because y'all haven't watched it, well, I mean, y'all know how it's gonna end, right? Right? I mean, I told you like what the ultimatums were. So, but y'all know how it's gonna end. So just kind of take it for what it is, right? So that's the story, which again, like I said, there's elements to it that makes it its complete own. It is not a sequel. So anybody that walked into this thing thinking it was a sequel, it was not a sequel. It was literally basically it was its own. That's why it was called A New Legacy. It was just another Space Jam. It was called Space Jam 2, A New Legacy, for a reason. So that it would be separated from the first one, because we already know y'all emotional mugs when it comes to MJ, boy. Y'all emotional. Like, come on. I mean, people were bashing this movie right away. And let's, I mean, we may as well kind of talk about, we might as well blend some points because I didn't want to talk in circles. So I did put some bullets together, but we can blend a couple of things here. So pretty much everybody that bashed it was bashing it because they were comparing it to the first one. And honestly, like I said, going into it, if you went into it feeling like it was supposed to be a continuation of that one, then that's where you went wrong, like right away, right? But if you went into it, first off, having enjoyed the first one for what it was, me being a 90s kid, I enjoyed it. I saw Space Jam multiple times. I enjoyed it. The intro song, all of those things are memories for me. All of that is memories for me. That whole movie is a memory in my childhood, and I appreciate it. Is it Oscar worthy? No. Did anybody act well in it? No. But like, but we not watching it for good acting. We watching it for entertainment. We watching it for goofy, activity, funny, just comedic relief, and to kind of escape from reality, so to speak. And I feel like with that in mind, I feel like Space Jam 2, um, if anything, it was better because of the technological advances we have now. I mean, what they were able to do in Space Jam 2 is some things that perhaps they weren't able to do in the first one, or maybe they just didn't do it because of the budget. I don't know. But I mean, my man LeBron went from a cartoon to an actual person to I mean they morphed him into, like, when he went to the Looney World, he was a cartoon in that world. That was dope. And then before the basketball game, Algae Rhythm actually, he made the Looney Tunes real. Like, that's technological advances that we can appreciate. Like, for me, I thought that was really dope. Let's see if I can show y'all some pictures so y'all get what I'm talking about. Um, all right, let's share this good screen. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. All right. So for instance, I think I already, yeah. So like with this picture right here, you can see when he was in the Looney World, he immediately was turned into like a cartoon. So that's pretty dope that they were able to animate him, and I'm sure that was dope for him to see himself being animated in that world. But then also LG Rhythm, before they got to playing, this what he turned the Looney Tunes into right here. So he turned the Looney Tunes into like real characters where they look real, they don't look like cartoons, which I thought was a pretty good advancement. I feel like this would have been something worth seeing in the theater for to kind of get that real feel for what it truly looked like on that big screen. So that was pretty fire. Um, yeah, so that's kind of what I was what I was talking about when it came to that. So a lot of technological advances. Let's see. Those were the better things to show y'all regarding that. You can kind of see from here too, kind of how they look real while on the court. So that's that. You got one with Granny. Hey, let me tell y'all, the funniest character in this movie was Granny. Like she every scene that they had her talk or do something in, she brought it. Um, so that was pretty cool. Okay, so that's that. And okay, stop sharing. So, all right. So the technological stuff, all of that was dope. Like I said, his son created games. So one cool thing about the basketball game that was scheduled between obviously Toon Squad and Goon Squad, uh, they were inside of his son's game. So that's how Algae Rhythm kind of manipulated the son. He was able to use the game that LeBron's son created, but he also manipulated LeBron's son to play on the Goon Squad, right? So that was a cool little twist. So LeBron was playing against his son's team. His son was the captain of that team. And yeah, the point system was out of control. Like if you saw, you know what I'm talking about. The point system was out of control. Like they scored and immediately it was like 1,000 points. I'm like, what's going on? Like this ain't even right. Like but anyway, yeah. So back to the critics, man. Like it was just a lot of just emotion, like, to me, everybody that didn't like it was just in their feelings. They were just in their feelings. "Oh, I like the better one first. Oh, it was bad acting." And what's funny though is that these are typically people who don't know anything about acting though. Isn't that something? How the people that don't do none of that happen to know about some acting. "Oh, the acting was terrible." We don't watch Space Jam for acting, big fella. Like, what are you talking about? It's something that, first off, it's a legacy. It's a franchise of two superstar basketball players getting an opportunity to be stars in a big box film. This is something that doesn't happen, particularly for men that look like them. And I'm not gonna go like super far into that. That's just surface level. I just want to throw that out there, right? But then also we dealing with Warner Brothers. Like this is huge. Obviously, you got the Looney Tunes that were a part of it. All the main superstar characters of Looney Tunes have been a part of this franchise. And if you know anything about those characters, this is gonna be a wacky experience. Like what are we expecting here? Did we want dramatics? Like what y'all talking about? You know? And here's like a couple of I'll show you a couple of reviews. Mm, mm, mm. Some stuff is fair. Some stuff is like, okay, y'all just being extra. Okay, so da 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 da. This one says Space Jam: A New Legacy feels like 99% commerce, 1% art. And that I could see. Now, one thing about content today is a lot of advertising, a lot of marketing around things. Nike was all up and through that movie. Okay. I feel like everything said Nike in there. E3, I saw E3 on there on multiple occasions. I have to watch it a couple more times because I'm sure there's some other stuff that I missed, but Nike and E3 for sure were things I saw. Obviously Warner Brothers. There were a ton of cameos and other movie references in the movie. So you had, oh, well, I'll go into that later. We talk about critics. Younger audiences will find plenty to enjoy about Space Jam. No duh, a legacy, new legacy. But LeBron James' trip to Toon World feels like it learned all the wrong lessons from the original film. And see, this right here is what I'm talking about. See, anytime you're trying to compare it to the original film is where you go wrong, because this was created not to be separated from the original film, because obviously they knew folks were too tied to the original. But that goes for any franchise though. This ain't just some, LeBron versus Michael Jordan thing. This is just people just being old and dusty and stuck in what they know something to be from the start, right? That that's been since the beginning of time. Um this one says feels like it was directed not by a person but a committee of people that followed algorithms about what was appealing to modern audiences, which is fair because that's the era we're in. Again, they sound like some old and dusty folks that wrote these reviews. Like, are y'all are y'all finished or y'all done? Like, what are we talking about? Space Jam: A New Legacy is a fun family movie bolstered by good heart, strong visuals that make up for a lack in originality. Of course, it's not going to have full originality. It's another part. It's another version of an original version. Are y'all stupid or are y'all dumb? Like, what are we talking about? Let me skip through. The tunes might be almost effortlessly entertaining. This is a 2 out of 5. The tunes might be almost effortlessly entertaining, yet even they can't rescue what ends up feeling like a confused and pointless exercise in flexing studio muscles. I like this one. Um, because they brought up a little bit of what I brought up earlier about um the ability to use more technology in this one. I do feel like it was a lot of muscles being flexed in the production studio for the folks that do visual effects and things. I do feel like they did have fun in whatever little room they do all of that stuff in. They were doing I feel like they did everything they could possibly do in the studio with the effects in this movie. Like they did everything possible. But to me, that made it more enjoyable. Like they did everything to try to appeal to any audience, you know what I mean? Or just to try to, show the range of how much you can do in a 2021 version of a Space Jam. I mean, come on, it's about being in outer space in a different universe and so on and so forth. So, with the technology we have today, we get a chance to really, I'm about to say really and realize in the same sentence. We get a chance to actually realize what a Space Jam should be in 2021, where we couldn't in 1996. That's how I feel. So, if it's about the acting, no, the acting wasn't good. Duh. There were only out of everybody that I told you about, there were only a few actors in the movie. There were actors in the movie, but the star of the movie is not an actor. So yes, the acting is not going to be good. But what I can say about LeBron, any movie that he has been in, he has done a good job with his range of how he can act. I do feel like he does have a sense of humor that works for the movies that he's been in. This one is no different to me, right? So when it comes to the critics, again, as y'all can see on everyone I showed y'all that was like did not giving it a chance, it was always comparing it to the original. And that's an emotional critique for me. To me. It's people being emotional. It's not them being fair walking into watching the movie. So that's my take. Sneakers. So LeBron actually he wore the LeBron 19s that I actually showed you guys in a couple of videos prior to with my All Things Space Jam 2 uh videos that I did prior to the movie coming out. Obviously he wore the Toon Squad uniform one. Somebody said that they saw when he was morphing during the game, they saw before his shoe was the LeBron 19 Toon Squad colorway. They said it was the Flight Posit. But how I was watching the movie is that was his son who was wearing the Nike Flightposite. So I'm gonna have to watch it again to make sure, but I'm almost for certain. And y'all let me know if y'all noticed that it was his son that was wearing the Nike Flightposite. And his son was actually playing in the game in the Nike Flightposite. So I don't know what that person was talking about. Um, so yeah, not a whole lot on the side of sneakers that I noticed, but it did reveal the LeBron 19, which for me is more of that shoe is gonna be more of a collector's item for me. Not necessarily a shoe that I'm looking forward to wearing. So that's that. And finally, so that I don't make this any more longer than it's already 25 minutes in, my rating. Okay. So the movie critics, again, I'm not a movie critic. And the critics that I just showed y'all, they rated that thing pretty bad. Okay. If it's about I can't rate it on acting. I'm not an actor, right? It's bad acting. So of course the rating's gonna be low. But as a 90s kid who understands what the movie was supposed to be, it gave me everything. It gave me everything. And so with that, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. And the only reason I'm not gonna give it a 10 out of 10 is because I do agree the acting was terrible. But the use of technology was perfect. The use of the serververse and just going through multiple types of worlds, all of the memories from the cameos and the features and all of those things, like it's a movie that you definitely will be able to watch multiple times. It's a movie you probably notice different things every time you watch it, or at least the first few times you watch it. Um, it falls in line also in terms of the story with the type of person LeBron is, who is a family man. So naturally, he played the basketball game for family, right? So it lines up with what it was supposed to do. And again, as a 90s kid, I appreciated Space Jam for what it was. Therefore, I walked into this one knowing what this one was supposed to be. But it was a LeBron version of it. It was not a sequel. It was never supposed to be a sequel. That's why it's called A New Legacy. Once again, it's not a sequel. It was never supposed to be a sequel. That's why it's called A New Legacy. Okay. Now that that's squared away, y'all let me know what y'all thought, man. I really hope that everybody enjoyed it. Even if you didn't enjoy it, thanks for watching. Because again, listen, seeing a face that looks like mine on the big box as a big box movie is not something to sneeze at. And then it being a huge franchise like Space Jam, again, that I appreciated as a kid. Yeah, I mean, there was no losing for me. There was no losing for me as a person. There was no losing for me as just somebody watching a movie. There was no losing for me as a basketball fan. There was no losing for me as a Looney Tunes fan. There was no losing for me as a gaming fan. Like they made the movie for me. They made it for me. And I can't wait to share it with my nephews, my godsons, and all of the kids in my family. But y'all let me know, like I said, um, what y'all experience was watching the film. Did y'all go to the movies? Did y'all watch it at home? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Did you not watch it at all, and why? So everybody got a story. Everybody got a thought. And apparently everybody is an expert on acting. So with that, I'm gonna get on up out of here. But man, the day finally came and the movie finally came out, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. So y'all know what's next, baby. As soon as I, get all the nuts and bolts of the Space Jam pieces that I wanted that drop, I'll definitely be coming in front of y'all and showing y'all my goods. And look out for that. Definitely excited about it. Y'all already know. Y'all know if y'all been following me, y'all know this is the same energy I had last year when it got postponed. So nothing's changed for me. This ain't no new energy, baby. All right, man. Let me get out of here. I'm out. Thank you guys so much for your support. Until the next one. Peace.